site of the first permanent settlement in West Virginia, today our state's fastest growing county, and a charming spy named Belle Boyd. I'm Wayne Worth, and you're watching On the Road in West Virginia, our 55 counties, Berkeley County. The story of European settlement both in Berkeley County and what we today call West Virginia all started right here at Bunker Hill, and started with a dude whose parents liked their last name so much that they also made it their son's first name. Well, I don't know about that, but Morgan, according to the history books, was deemed as West Virginia's first white settler and built a cabin at Bunker Hill in 1731. The early to mid-1700s brought upon a time where many white settlers were claiming every piece of open land that they saw. And it wasn't like you could run down to the local hardware store and buy a stack of no trespassing signs, and surveying was not quite a popular trade at that time. That all changed though in 1748 as Lord Fairfax hired a crew of men to survey 5 million acres of what was then Virginia that he inherited from his mother. One young man, or should I say teenage boy, that he hired was George Washington. At the age of 16, George and Lord Fairfax's other hired hands surveyed much of what we consider today as the Eastern Panhandle. George Washington became very familiar with the Eastern Panhandle and established many stockade-style forts during the French and Indian War throughout Berkeley County. Now, as for some of the early industries in the county, farming and grist mills dotted the landscape, and flour produced from these grist mills flowed down the C&O Canal to market. However, the 1800s and the coming of the B&O Railroad to Martinsburg would be the beginning of prosperity to the Panhandle for years to come. Now, Martinsburg was established in 1778, and the railroad came to town in 1842, where a large roundhouse was built to work on many of the steam locomotives. However, shortly after the American Civil War kicked into high gear, the whole roundhouse complex was destroyed. Of course, that was to be expected when 75% of your county's residents were Confederate and a Union-controlled railroad was in your backyard. However, it wasn't brother versus brother fighting in the region that made the Civil War period in Berkeley County so dynamic, but rather a charming young lady named Belle Boyd, or maybe should I say a spy named Belle Boyd. At any rate, Belle Boyd was born and raised most of her childhood years in Martinsburg. Her career as a spy started in 1861 when she shot and killed a Union soldier. Believe it or not, she was imprisoned twice, and her first husband was a former naval officer who was also one of her captors. Now, she mainly shared the Union Army's battle plans directly with Confederate generals of the likes of Stonewall Jackson. When it was all said and done, though, Belle Boyd carried her charm and persona with her even after the Civil War, as she was married 3 times in the 57 years that she lived. Now, the years following the Civil War brought more prosperous and diversified industries of Berkeley County, from apples to textiles. During the 1890s, apples became a huge industry in the county. The industry has such a huge impact on the county that even today, sports teams at Musselman High School call themselves the Applemen. Throughout the 20th century, many major industries such as GM, 3M, and DuPont, just to name a few, set up shop here in Berkeley County. Even one of our state's 4 VA hospitals was built in Martinsburg. Now, much of this growth came with the building of Interstate 81 in 1968, as most of the Eastern Panhandle became connected with a major north-south transportation system. The 21st century brought more of the same as Berkeley County became part of the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. And to top it off, the county's population had surpassed 100,000 by 2010, making it our state's fastest growing county and our state's second most populated county. And it all started right here in a log cabin in 1731. I'm Wayne Worth, and until next time, always remember, what we value and hold important to our lives today came from events that happened yesterday, and it's when we begin to understand the events of yesterday that we fully embrace today, which makes tomorrow become less of a mystery.